OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC Podcast and welcome to the Friday Night Smackdown review/recap. Now, I'm stepping in to do the recap this week as both G and Ross were actually at Friday Night Smackdown this week. So unfortunately they weren't able to do the review as they were experiencing it live. So I've decided to step in and do the recap for them. So let's just jump straight into it. So Friday Night Smackdown started off with a quick video recap of the tension between the Bloodline, obviously talking about the fact that the Bloodline Civil War is going to be happening tomorrow at Money in the Bank, so obviously showing from the last couple of weeks just the inner turmoil and the cracks that have begun to form, and obviously with Jimmy and Jay both turning on Roman and Solo. Then, once the video package is done, we move into the first match of the night, which is for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. So this is the match between Sami Zayn with Kevin Owens as his partner and Pretty Deadly. Now, this was a really good match. KO and Sami Zayn actually got a much better reaction in terms of like crowd interaction than Pretty Deadly, which I was very surprised to see considering Pretty Deadly are from the UK. I think the crowd reaction just sounded a lot louder for Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, which I'm not complaining about at all. I think having a really active crowd during an episode of any wrestling show is fantastic. It shows that the crowd is engaged. They're loving what they're seeing, especially with a starved crowd like, the UK. They don't get wrestling very much, so when they do, it's like a massive moment. So this match was really good. I noticed very early in, once Pretty Deadly had entered, that their little bralettes were themed for the colours of the tag belts, obviously red and blue on one side, and had little like tag title, like the side plate decals along their bralettes, which was quite cool. This match was really good. There was a moment where Kit Wilson was attacking on, I think it was KO or Sami Zayn, and then Elton Prince tried to interfere from behind the ring. Obviously, the referee did not see this. I noted down that Pretty Deadly was getting some really good offense in. KO was doing he's doing his like clotheslines when he runs outside the ring and hit a running senton outside on Kit Wilson into a cannonball into the ring post. There was a spot during the match, I can't remember exactly when it happened, that KO hurt his ankle. He was selling the ankle really well, but by the end of the match he ended up coming into the ring with only one ring boot on. He had taken his other one off. So I'm really hoping that his ankle's okay, and if something is wrong with it, I wish him a fast and speedy recovery. The winners of this match, and still your undisputed tag team champions, are Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I was kind of expecting this, but it was a good match nonetheless. Then we move on and we have a video recap last week, just from showing what happened last week with Solo attacking Ridge Holland, and then obviously Sheamus and Solo's match as well too. Then we see that the Brawling Brutes are backstage with Adam Pearce, and they're talking about how they're back home in London, and obviously they were talking about the match they had with Solo last week. This is Sheamus I'm referencing, and then Ridge is like, I really want to have a match, can I have a match? And Adam Pearce is a bit like hesitant at first, and he's like, well, do you not think I'm worthy of putting on like a banger match in my hometown? Like, this is not really how we do things. Like, let me have a go. And then Adam Pearce says, well, I've put you down for a match tonight with Austin Theory. Now it's not for the championship, but it's a contenders match, basically. So Adam Pearce basically just says you're going to go ahead and wrestle Austin Theory, which is what we move into. So we get a match between Austin Theory and Ridge Holland. The match is really good. There was a really good move as well too, where Ridge had put Austin Theory into this like hold, and then he was like spinning round and round. I think I wrote it down, Wade Barrett referred to it as like the Yorkshire merry-go-round or something. It was quite cool to see. Ridge got a lot of offense and a lot of power moves in, but Austin Theory did come away with the win on this one, and then we see Sheamus running out to the ring to aid Ridge at the end of the match. Then we have a promo package from Karrion Kross with Scarlett beside him, basically referencing the mixed tag match they had a couple of weeks back, and Karrion Kross was gloating about the fact that he beat AJ Styles in 3 moves, and it's like a game of chess, and it was phenomenal, and next week it'll be checkmate. So obviously referencing the fact that they might compete against each other next week. Then we have a Roman Reigns video package. Now it's basically kind of just going through the Anoa'i family and talking about how, the bloodline has formed over the last 3 years. It's been super dominant, and obviously with the inclusion of the Usos and Solo Sikoa as well too. Talking about the triumphs that they've had within the bloodline and within the group itself and the family. And then starting to talk about the fractures that have been forming in the bloodline as of late. So obviously adding a lot to the storyline, which is obviously for their Bloodline Civil War match, which will be happening at Money in the Bank. I quite enjoyed this. I think it really added a touch of realism to the story as well too. A lot of the times if you see stories in WWE, you kind of don't really think anything of it. But when they kind of are able to show that this is actually like a family suffering, then that's when you're like, oh, like this is real. Then we have the match that was meant to happen last week. So that's the match between Bayley and Shotzi. And this is for basically if Bayley loses, she loses her spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And if Shotzi wins, she goes in, or vice versa. So we had that match because that was meant to happen last week, but it's happened this week. Straight off the bat, the Hey Bayley chant started, and I loved it. I noticed that they were going pretty much the entire match, which obviously UK fans are very persistent with their chanting. I'm not complaining in any ways. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. It was a really good match. I didn't really write much about the match. I kind of just wrote down like, Shotzi deserves more. Shotzi got some good moves in. It was a really quick match. Bayley did win with the Rose Plant, but there was a move earlier in the match where Io did try and help out Bayley. So they were very close to the ring ropes, and then I think Shotzi had Bayley in like a roll-up or something, and Io moved Bayley's leg onto the ropes, meaning that obviously the pin was no longer valid. So yeah, Bayley came away with the win on that match, which was really good. So Bayley has kept her spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Then we got a video recap of Logan Paul announcing himself for Money in the Bank. Now this happened 2 Raws ago, where you could kind of call that the men's summit. So we had the video recap of that, basically just showing the reason as to why Logan Paul's been inserted and why he's considered a favourite for the Money in the Bank ladder match. Then we saw after the break that we were going to be getting the Grayson Waller effect with Logan Paul as a guest star on the show. And then we had a video package which was kind of like an after the match kind of, this is the effects that have happened. So we see Bayley and Io Sky backstage talking. Shotzi comes in. She's like, I'm not finished with you. They all start getting into a fight backstage. Io and Bayley throw Shotzi onto a table, and then they start calling her a freak and an idiot, and they cut Shotzi's hair. So you can clearly see there's still some form of alliance with Damage Control, but they are on very shaky ground. There are times where Damage Control don't seem to be on the same page. So it'll be very interesting to see how this goes in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Then we had the Grayson Waller effect with Logan Paul as a guest star. So Grayson Waller's introducing Logan Paul before he comes out, and he says that Logan is the man who has made KSI famous. He's a social media megastar, so Logan comes out to the ring. Obviously, crowd doesn't like him. He's getting nuclear heat. That's really good to see. Then Grayson Waller asks, you've had some really good matches so far, but what would it mean for you to win the Money in the Bank ladder match? Logan responds with, it would mean a whole lot. I've competed with almost every single champ in the company. If I was to win Money in the Bank, I could get some revenge on Seth from my WrestleMania match, and I could always try and take down the Tribal Chief, seeing as he's no longer as strong as what he used to be. Or I could smack LA Knight over the face, and obviously I could kind of, when he was referencing LA Knight because of the interaction that they had in the men's summit a couple of weeks ago on Monday Night Raw, I could kind of feel like maybe an interaction between the two of them was coming, and I was right, because LA Knight's music hit, and I kid you not, the entire roof almost came off the building. I swear everybody in the crowd was chanting and singing and was so excited for LA Knight. It is one of the biggest pops that I have heard for him in a very long time, and I cannot wait to see how loud the crowd gets for him at Money in the Bank tomorrow. He genuinely deserves it. He even looked shocked with how loud everybody was. So he comes out and he starts talking about how, Logan Paul's gotten everything since he's gotten into the company. He's been given everything. He's never had to work for anything, and basically just spits facts. I mean, Logan Paul technically has been given everything, whereas, LA's talking about the fact that he's had to work for everything and he still doesn't have half the stuff that he wants. Logan Paul hits back at him and basically references the fact that he used to be of a manager status back when he was Max Dupree, and he says, you've been in this industry for 20 years and you kind of have nothing to show for it. Then Santos Escobar comes out, confronts Logan, and he's like, yeah, I get that you want to win this, but I need to win Money in the Bank. Butch runs out to the ring, starts beating up on Logan Paul, and we go to a commercial break. This sets up the triple threat match that also was supposed to happen last week between Butch, Santos Escobar, and LA Knight. It was a really good match. The crowd was behind LA Knight the whole time, screaming, yeah, obviously getting involved with him. Butch was looking really great in the match too. Santos had some real good moves, which I expect nothing less from Santos Escobar. There was a really cool move in the match as well too, where LA Knight's trying to talk crap to Logan Paul outside of the ring, and then LA Knight sees that there's potential for something to go wrong. Santos Escobar jumps over the ropes and LA Knight moves out of the way, and Santos ends up knocking Logan Paul out, which was quite cool to see. Butch did come away with the win on this match. I was really happy that he won. Part of me did feel like he only won because it was a UK crowd, but nonetheless, he does deserve it. There's a moment where he grabs a ladder and puts it into the ring, and then everybody tries to get a moment to walk up the ladder, but it ends up being Butch who runs up the ladder and grabs the briefcase and unhooks it. So I know how wrestling superstitions work. If you grab the briefcase before Money in the Bank, you're clearly not the one winning it. I don't necessarily believe that. I think it just happened so that it could make it a little bit more hard for us to figure out who's actually going to be coming away with the Money in the Bank briefcase. I'm still excited for this match. I think it's going to be epic. Then we had a video promo package. Now this was kind of in response to Karrion Kross earlier. We see AJ Styles is backstage with the OC, and he was saying, you did really well, but the fact that you're gloating about beating me in 3 moves, you didn't play fair. And he says, to keep your poodle on a leash, which is obviously referencing Scarlett. And he says, if you don't, I have someone who can sort her out. Michin comes in, so Mia Yim comes in, and obviously looks really staunch and really grumpy. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows don't really say anything. They're kind of just standing in the back, and AJ says, challenge accepted. So I'm expecting us to get another match between Michin, sorry, my brain just fogged out for a second. Michin and AJ Styles against Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux. Now that will be super exciting. I'm always down to see Scarlett in more matches. I think she's fantastic in the ring. She's an awesome manager as well, but I think what makes a really good manager out from a good manager is someone who can also step in the ring as well. Then we had the long-awaited match between Charlotte Flair and Asuka. Now, I was really looking forward to this because I made a video on my TikTok about me fantasy booking this match, and I was really eager to see if this actually went the way that I thought it was going to. Nonetheless, this was for the WWE Women's Championship. Now, Bianca Belair was barred from ringside, but she was smart. She thought to herself, I'm barred from ringside, but I can still attend and watch the match. So she bought a ticket, which was quite cool. So she was sitting front row during the match. There was a few spots during the match that kind of didn't really flow together really well. I could tell there was a spot that was supposed to go into a spear, but it didn't. Other than that, it was a really good match. Charlotte and Asuka both work really well together, so I can kind of put those, small, minute details just down to some timing issues. At the end of the day, it's not a really big deal. The moment that happened in the match that kind of set it off for me was that there was a moment where Charlotte Flair hits a moonsault on Asuka outside of the ring. They then both walk over to where Bianca's standing on the other side of the barrier, and then Charlotte's hitting Asuka with some chops and Bianca's reacting to it. Then Charlotte Flair walks away for a little bit and runs up to her to try and give Asuka a big boot. Asuka moves out of the way and she ends up booting Bianca Belair. Bianca's obviously like, I didn't even get involved, but because you booted me in the face, I'm going to get involved. She jumps over the barrier and she starts attacking Asuka, which means that this match ends in a no contest. There's no winner because Bianca pretty much intervened. She wasn't supposed to, but she did. Then Bianca starts beating down on Asuka and then obviously clears the announcers table. Charlotte gets really mad because she's like, this is my opportunity, this was my match, you've taken away from me. Bianca's like, well actually no, this has got nothing to do with you. This is between me and Asuka. I don't know why you're getting so wound up about it. This is between me and Asuka. It's got nothing to do with you. And then Charlotte's getting all up in Bianca's face. Bianca's like, get your hand out of my face. Get out of my face. And then she says, if you put your hand in my face one more time, I will get you. Like, I'll hit you. And she did it again. And then she hit Charlotte. And the crowd went crazy. I went crazy because this is the beginning of the Bianca Belair heel turn. It's in full effect. We're going to get it. And I'm so excited for this. Then she ends up KODing both Asuka and Charlotte, and she's standing on top of the announcers table, waving her little braid around, looking so happy with what she did. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see where this heel turn goes. After this match and after a commercial break, we had a video recap of Solo basically turning on the Usos, kind of showing where his alliance lies going into the Bloodline Civil War match, which his alliance obviously lies with Roman Reigns. Then Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman come out to the ring. Obviously has a very long entrance, must I say. Roman does his whole acknowledge me spiel. He's talking about the bloodline, and he says, I allowed my cousins for 2 years to say that we are the ones, but I'm the only one. I'm the head of the table, the tribal chief. I'm the best. I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the only one who cares about the Usos, who loves the Usos, who gives them opportunities and allowed them into the promised land. What sucks is that families betray you, and that's what they did to me. And he says he's the only one from the family who wants to give them a second chance. And then he compares the fact that he wants to give the Usos a second chance very much the same to when he gives his children a second chance. He says, when my children mess up, I give them second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances, because that's what you do when you're a father. But when you're a tribal chief, you give them second, third, fourth, fifth, go on, and so on, so on. But they also need to acknowledge me as well too, and they need to be sorry for what they did. And he says, I've given them so many chances as a tribal chief, but now it's time for them to bow down, apologize, and acknowledge me. The Usos music hits, crowd goes nuts. I went nuts. This was just what we needed. And Jimmy starts saying, that Roman is the one that pretty much has it twisted. We're past the point of apologies. We're past the point of acknowledging him. It's all about the consequences now of what's happened. And he says, the family's talking. Have you ever thought about the consequences that could happen if you lose this match tomorrow night? Jay steps in and says, when was the last time that you were pinned? 3 years ago. When's the next time that you're going to get pinned? Tomorrow. So basically alluding to the fact that Jay might be the one to pin Roman, which I called it from the very start. I'd love to see that happen. And he says that we go to war tomorrow at Money in the Bank. When you lose, you're the only one who's going to be out of the bloodline. You won't be the tribal chief. And obviously, Jay asks Jimmy, do you want to be the tribal chief? And he's like, absolutely not. And he's like, do you want to be the tribal chief? And he's like, absolutely not. And they're saying that there'll only be one tribal chief left. And they're alluding to Solo. They don't say his name, but everyone kind of knows that's who he's talking about. There's a moment where it's dead silent between Solo and Roman. They're kind of just looking at each other. Solo's looking very staunch in the ring, and Roman looks really scared, is he really going to take over from me? And then he suddenly clicks and he starts laughing and he's like, shut your mouth, do you think this is a game? Gets all up in Jay's face because Jay's standing on the ring apron at this point. And they start, yelling at each other, and then Roman gets all up in Jay's face. Jay pushes his face away, and Roman's basically saying that you'd be nothing without me. You wouldn't even be where you are if it wasn't for me. And then so obviously Jay shoves Roman. Jimmy hits him with a super kick, and then there's a brawl that spreads out of the ring. Security comes in, but security is getting worn off. They're getting pushed away. Everyone's beating up on each other. And that is how Friday Night Smackdown finishes. So all in all, I think this was a better go-home episode than I was expecting. The crowd really made it amazing. They were electric. They were fantastic. And I do think that's what makes a really good episode different from just a normal episode, if that makes sense. If you have the crowd to feed off of and the crowd to help you out in those moments, that is when your episode is probably going to be better. I really enjoyed the Go Home episode. I'm so excited for Money in the Bank tomorrow. It's going to be so good. The match card is stacked. This is one of the better Money in the Bank match cards in the last couple of years, and I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, that is my recap of the go home episode of Friday Night Smackdown before Money in the Bank. If you liked it, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Now, just a reminder, we will not be doing a podcast episode next week due to some scheduling conflicts, but I will be doing a Money in the Bank review for the channel. I'm not too sure if that's going to go up on Sunday for me, so that's the day after Money in the Bank, or if we're going to schedule it for Thursday. We will definitely let you know on the Instagram, so make sure you're following the Outcasted Instagram page just for some updates in terms of content. We're obviously going to be dropping Raw, NXT and SmackDown reviews next week as well, and then the following week we'll be getting back into the weekly podcasts. So yeah, like I said earlier, if you liked the video, please make sure that you like, comment and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for 100 subscribers as well too. Like, that means so much to all of us. It really goes to show that you guys are liking the content that we're putting out. Also, make sure that you check in the description down below for the links for all of our personal social medias. So that's our TikToks and our Instagrams, so you can keep up to date with our content when we're not posting on here. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the Money in the Bank review. I hope you guys enjoy Money in the Bank. I know I will. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys.